Lassiter Factor.
What's up, all my movie loving maniacs? This is your boy Bangful B of the Lassiter Factor, and with the release of Toy Story 5 last weekend, I thought it'd be fun to not rank every Pixar movie because we be here all day, but instead I'm gonna stop and rank every Pixar sequel, prequel, and spin-off ever released. And yes, there's really only been one prequel and one spin-off, but that's just how my OCD mind works, so I just wanted to include them as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. In last place is Cars 2. To me, this isn't just the worst Cars movie, but it's the worst Pixar movie ever made. Alright, I'm sorry. And I know these movies have an audience, and the kids that grow up with these movies love these movies. Hey, more power to y'all. But for me, this is the worst Cars movie because it completely devolved into something that doesn't even resemble the first movie. They made the Larry the Cable Guy tow truck the main character of this movie, and they turned it into a spy movie, which they could have. I see what they were trying to do by integrating different genres into every Cars movie, but here it just didn't work. Me, this was the first movie that showed me that Pixar is not perfect. At number 10 is Toy Story. I already did an updated review of this movie. Check it out, but I'm not going to basically rehash everything I said in that video. But yeah, this is at the bottom for a reason. To me, it was disappointing as a Buzz Lightyear movie. The animation, it is beautiful, and I can see what they were trying to do, but it still just felt like it was a movie that Pixar turned into a Buzz Lightyear movie. And did I mention, like, we already had the Buzz Lightyear Star Command cartoon? To me, I still can't fathom why they didn't just pull from that. Number 9 is Cars 3. And to be fair, this movie is an improvement over Cars 2, but again, I'm not the audience for these movies, and what can I tell you? At number 8 is Monsters University, which I'll admit when it first came out, I was a little lukewarm to it, but over the years, I've come to appreciate it more and more as I get older. This is a prequel to Monsters Inc., and it's definitely one of those movies that'll definitely tug at the heartstrings for adults that thought their life was going to go one way, but then turned out another, and I thought they illustrated that excellently through this movie. John Goodman and Billy Crystal are still awesome as the voice of Mike Wazowski and James P. Sullivan. And I did like that they kind of expand on the Monsters Inc. universe within this movie. Number 7 is The Incredibles 2, which I'll admit I have not seen since it first came out, but I do remember liking it when it first came out. Granted, not as good as the first film, and definitely somewhat disappointing given the 15-year gap between this movie and the first movie, but overall, I thought the animation improved. I like spending time with these characters. It was just a fun little superhero movie, and if the third movie really is in the works, hopefully they do a time jump because we cannot spend any more time with these kids as kids. Like, age them up a little bit. At number 6 is Finding Dory, which I did recently rewatch, and I liked it 10 years ago, and I like it even more 10 years later. Obviously not as good as Finding Nemo, but I thought it was still a worthy sequel that puts Dory in the forefront, and we see how she deals with her short-term memory loss and how that has affected her throughout her life, and see how her greatest weakness become her greatest strength, and of course the animation, still top-notch. And number 5 is Toy Story 4, which for most people is the lesser of the Toy Story movies, but like I said in my review for Toy Story 5, they have yet to make a bad Toy Story film, and yes, despite how unnecessary this movie was, I still like this movie as an epilogue to Toy Story 3 and giving us closure to Woody's story. If the biggest ding against this movie is that it was unnecessary, but yet still turned out to be a good film, then that says something. At number 4 is Toy Story 5, which is the latest movie that Pixar gave us and the latest Toy Story film. And again, watch my review if you want to know how I feel about that movie, but I like this a lot more than Toy Story 4. They put Jessie in the forefront. It addressed the kids that rather play with their tablets than play with toys. I thought they illustrated and tackled that brilliantly. If you have not seen this yet, go to the theater to go see it. Give it a chance. It's actually pretty good. Number 3 is Inside Out 2, which I liked the first movie more, but I thought this was still a worthy sequel because we continue to follow Riley as she grows up, and we get to see how the emotions deal with that and all the new emotions. We get anxiety and how that affects Riley. To me, the Inside Out franchise is one of the most brilliant franchises that Pixar ever produced, and if they continue to make any more, hey, I'm all for it because there's so much that they can do with it, especially with Riley. She's growing up. I'm just curious to see how Pixar tackles Riley's growth with all the different emotions inside of her. My runner up is Toy Story 2, which is the first sequel that Pixar ever produced. And it's crazy how this started out as a straight to video movie commissioned by Disney, but then Pixar is like, nah, this is good enough to be a feature length film. And not only it was a hell of an improvement over that first film, just in terms of animation, story, and character, but it was also a damn good film that still holds up to this day. To me, Toy Story 2 laid the groundwork on the themes and ideas that this franchise will later explore in further films, and especially in the third film. Toy Story 2 walked so that Toy Story 3 can run. Speaking of which, of course, at number 1 is Toy Story 3, which to me is not just the best Pixar sequel, but the best of the Toy Story franchise. I was the right age when this movie came out. Andy's all growing up. He's getting ready to give the toys away. He's getting ready to go off to college. Just the two scenes alone of the toys in the incinerator, holding hands. Great stuff right there. And then at the end, when Andy gives the toys away to Bonnie, it was like he was saying goodbye to his childhood right there. I had just graduated high school when this movie came out, so it was symbolic for me as well. To me, this movie capped off a perfect trilogy that was undoubtedly followed up by two films that were still good in their own right, but it still doesn't change the fact that this was still a perfect ending. So that's my ranking of all the Pixar sequels plus the prequel and spin-off. Here's a quick recap. It's on Letterboxd. Check it out. Just at Lassiter Factor. And what are your thoughts on this ranking? Do you agree? Do you disagree? How would you rank these movies? Let me know in the comments section below. This is your boy Bankful B of the Lassiter Factor. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Peace.